Hi, I'm back. It's been a little bit while since I've been here. Um, I keep telling myself I'm going to try to stop saying and it just doesn't work. The amount of ums that I have to cut out of my videos is ridiculous, and there are still some in there. So, instead of my name is Kat, and I try to make content geared towards single moms. Moms in general, but right now I am a single mom, and so that's what I know. I've never been married or in a relationship and co-parenting or anything like that, so this is what I know. I have a daughter who is almost 12. She'll be 12 in July, and right now I'm working on a homeschooling a middle schooler as a single parent series. But today, I wanted to just kind of have a sit down, chat, update you guys kind of on where I've been, what's been going on in my life, my decision to not put my daughter in a Christian private school, my decision to switch from Sonlight to Bookshark, kind of an all-encompassing video. Hopefully it's not too long, but feel free to grab a cup of coffee or tea or alcohol. I don't know what time of day it is for you, but enjoy this chatty update. Also, please ignore my wet hair because I was losing sunlight because it's supposed to storm today, and I'm trying to do my hair curly, not exactly following the curly girl method, but trying to do more curly hair because my hair is curly, but I've been straightening it for so long that it needs to be reminded that it's curly. So that's the stage I'm in right now. So I can't blow dry it, is the point of all of that. Where to start? I guess I should start with some big life changes that happened. So I was initially thinking of putting my daughter into a small Christian private school that's like a missionary school. So it's not like a normal private Christian school. It's more, sorry, my neighbor's outside. Hi. It's more of like all the teachers are missionaries from other countries. I was really excited about it because not only are the teachers from all over the world, but then there are students from all over the world as well. There are students from all over the world as well because their family, they came with their parents. So for instance, the math teacher was from Papua New Guinea. The history and literature teacher was from Australia. Another teacher was from Brazil. Like, they were from all over the world, and I believe wholeheartedly in getting as much exposure to cultural and world diversity as possible. I think it gives you a broader world view, and it's important. So I was really excited about that. It looked like it was going to be a really great opportunity. We went and did a follow day, and she loved it and I loved it. But then so when I first moved into this house that I'm in, it's a rental house and it's in town, and I lived in the country before, and I specifically moved here to move my parents in with me. They're older. They didn't have me till, I'm the oldest of 3 girls. They didn't have me until they were in their like mid 30s. And so they are 70 and 68. And they both have a lot of health problems, specifically my mom. And my dad needed more help taking care of her, making sure she was getting the right kind of nutrition, organizing doctor's visits and prescriptions and all of that stuff. It didn't work out when I initially moved here, so I got a roommate. And then my roommate left and my parents moved in with me along with my sister and my nephew while my sister gets on her feet. So that was a huge life change that happened. I quickly realized that in order to take care of them, it was going to cost me more money to do that. And I had accepted and like handed over to the Lord, like, this season of my life is to honor my parents, to really be a safe place for them to land, because things had just been pretty bad for them for a while, including for my sister. And so I just kind of felt like, let this be a solid ground that they can stand on and gain their bearings again. And I'll probably have my parents living with me for the rest of their lives. But then my sister can go off and do her thing with her son and really flourish. So they moved in with me. I still was considering putting her in school. And then I realized how much of my money from my new job was going to go towards taxes, because I'm technically a contractor, so they don't pull money out of my paychecks for taxes. Now, I've always made a lower bracket tax. I've always been in the lowest tax bracket. I've always made less money. And so this was my first year to really experience what paying taxes was like. And oh boy. So I just realized that financially I wasn't going to be able to swing private school at this time. That's not to say I'm not going to do it later. I still love the school. I loved everything about it. I think really it would have been fine either way. I think the Lord lets us make choices, and He's always with us. He never leaves us. So in any situation that ended up happening, I knew He was going to be there and that it was going to be good. So I wasn't really worried about either decision. So then, now that I'm suddenly realizing, oh, I'm going to be homeschooling next year, I dove deep into curriculum research for next year. Now, I know that I showed you guys my curriculum that I'm using currently. I've made a couple changes or added a couple things, but not really very much. It's still pretty much the same as that first homeschool video that I posted. I can put a link to that up here. So I started digging into, I knew that I still wanted to use IEW for writing because it's working well. We are going slowly, so we probably won't finish this year that we're on. As I've said before, my daughter really struggles with writing, and I've tried a lot of different things. She seems to be making the most progress with IEW of anything that we've used so far, so I'm going to stick with it. I did look into Brave Writer a little bit, and we might pursue that later, but for the moment, I have IEW, I've paid for it, and it's working, I think. So I'm going to stick with that. But I did know that I needed to do some research on math, because we just finished Master Books, Math Lessons for a Living Education, level 6. And after that, it changes and it turns into Principles of Mathematics 1 and 2. And so I had to do some research into that to see because at first I wasn't sure what that was. I watched somebody else's video on it and it seemed weird and like it wasn't actually teaching them anything new. It was just a whole year of review. But looking into it further, it's not. It's definitely Principles of Mathematics 1 and 2 are pretty much everything you need to know to move into high school. It covered all the subjects that I wanted to cover, all the material that I wanted her to cover. And as I've said before, I've tried to switch her math curriculums and it's never worked well. And we've always gone back to Master Books. So I was like, you know what? I'm not even going to try. We're just going to stick with Master Books and start from there. And if it doesn't work, then we'll change later. So I got that. For science, so initially I was looking at, I think, Apologia Science, because as I think I said in my Bookshark unboxing video, I have kind of switched up our science curriculum a bunch of times, and there have been times that we haven't done science. I love science. It's just, I was stretched too thin, and I was like, you need to learn reading, writing, and arithmetic. And those are the focus things. And so science was always taking too much time for me. But now that she's older, I'm like, oh, I really want her to have a good foundation in science. So I was trying to find something that would kind of cover all the bases in 1 year to just get her in a good spot for moving into 8th grade and then high school. So I had originally looked at something from Apologia. And then as I was researching Bookshark, I realized they had a science that was on the same level as the level of history that I wanted her to be on. So level G science kind of covers a lot of different, I was looking at the scope and sequence and just realized this is exactly what I need. It's going to cover everything that I want to cover. It will still be teaching her things that she's never learned before. So that's what I stuck with for that. As far as switching from Sonlight to Bookshark, I've been trying to figure out how I want to present this. I think, so Master Books is a Christian Bible worldview curriculum. However, we pretty much skip all of the story part of it and just do the math. When we used to do the good and the beautiful, each lesson was very inundated with moral or religious lessons. And we moved on from that. In Sonlight, it has some really great literature, like Christian literature, that I do really appreciate. I love the missionary stories. But I realized, and it's not like one specific thing with Sonlight that I struggle with. It's just that as I was thinking about it and praying about it and whatnot, I realized that I kind of wanted to take all religion out of our curriculum, and then I wanted to present it to her. I wanted to present God to her separate from that, even though our conversation while we're going through our curriculum is going to still have God in it. Like, as we're discussing history, obviously we're going to be talking about God. God is such a huge part of my life. There's no way that I could not talk about God with my daughter. But I realized that in order to just avoid having to stop and say, okay, I agree with this part, but I don't agree with this part. I don't know that this is what this says, really. I didn't want to have to worry about any of that. So I just decided to take it out, and then I can just put stuff in myself. I'm helping to write some children's curriculum for our church right now. So I'm kind of in that mode anyway, and I'll probably use some of the stuff that I write for our children's church and expound on it for my daughter. But really, I think for me, from what I've experienced as a person who homeschooled my whole life, having been in church pretty much my whole life and been around a lot of kids programs and church programs and devotionals and all that stuff, I understand the heart behind it. But I feel like so much of the material presented to kids is about being good, doing good, don't sin. I feel like this should be a whole separate video almost, but essentially, I believe that Jesus died for so much more than just to save us from going to hell because we're mean, awful sinners. I recommend reading a book called There Were Two Trees in the Garden. It's by Rick Joyner. It's a really great book. I really think that it's more to do with being restored back to connection with the Father, and that really what happened when Adam and Eve ate from the tree of the fruit of the tree of good, of the knowledge of good and evil. Oh, that's a mouthful. Essentially, like, the whole deception was just to get them to look at themselves, and was to get them to take their eyes off of God, and was to get them to think that there was something that they had to do in order to be close to God, or something that they had to be in order to be worthy to God. And I don't think that that's true. He's a good God. Okay, so while I was editing, I realized I left some stuff out of this part. So as far as the deception goes with Eve and Adam, I think that, they walked with God and they were completely unaware of themselves. As you know, the first thing that Eve did, as soon as Adam and Eve both did, as soon as they ate of the fruit of the tree of the knowledge of good and evil, they went and covered themselves. They became self-focused. And I think that when we teach people, not just kids, but anyone, that like, you shouldn't sin, don't sin, sinning is bad, or do this to be a good Christian, do this to be a good Christian, do this, like either one of those things they're all self-focused rather than God-focused. And that really all you have to do is be with Jesus. And the more that you're with him and that you learn about him and that you get to know him and you really spend time with the Lord, the more that you reflect him and you become like, we were made in God's image. We were already everything that we needed to be. We were already worthy. And so I think that the deception was a belief in our minds that we are separate from God, a belief in our minds that we have to do more or be more to be valuable. And I think that us focusing on ourselves really was really the bad fruit that came from that. And so what I want to teach my daughter is to be God focused and like to focus on the goodness of God and the light, the love, the truth of who he is, and not on all the things that she's doing wrong in her life or should do right in her life. Like, yeah, I think we had a book study on this, or in a book study on this book in my church, and I've actually read it before, but in the book study we were talking about how like when we're in alignment with God, like it's always moving forward, and there's not like work that we have to do in order to do that. It's simply just being with the Lord. But when we get self-focused, whether it is complete lawlessness or it is self-righteousness, both of those things are like a ditch on either side of the road with the Lord. And when you're in a ditch, you're not moving forward. You're just in a cycle, focused on yourself, one way or the other, whether lawlessness or self-righteousness. It is focus on self. And so I believe that in order to move forward with the Lord, he is such a good God. He is so sweet and kind and wonderful. And he says, you're valuable just right where you are. And we don't have to work at it. It's just a matter of seeing him for who he is, seeing him more clearly. And we can't help but be changed and transformed. Our heart becomes a heart of flesh. And it's sometimes a process. There's sometimes things that the Lord has to do in us, but the operative word there is the words there are that the Lord does that work in us. And so I think for my daughter, I just want her to always know that like she is enough, she is valuable. I don't want her to grow up believing she's a horrible sinner and has to do a bunch of stuff to be righteous, like at all. I want her to grow up believing that God is a good God and that all she has to do is be with him. And so because of that is a big reason why I made the switch that I made. I think that a lot of times there can be some confusion in curriculum about God being a good God or a wrathful, vengeful God. And I just want to make sure that I'm always presenting him as a good God, and that she knows that she is valuable and worthy just because she exists and because God says so. Like Jesus dying on the cross was all that we need to know that we are valuable and worthy. I don't know if I'm explaining all of that correctly. I can go further into it, but baseline is I wanted to present God in a way that I was intentional with and not just trusting a curriculum to do it for me. And so I just took it all out of the curriculum, and I will be presenting that information separately. Also, I am working full-time. I am taking some extra side jobs like building websites and doing some branding and things like that. So that's keeping me busy. I'm homeschooling my daughter, of course. And then I'm also kind of a caretaker right now. Like that's kind of the season I'm in. And my mom has had some problems lately. She has early onset dementia, and we're trying to get her weight up, and we're trying to help her build some muscles and do like physical therapy and stuff. And so there's been a lot of time spent cooking, working with her, taking care of my daughter, doing my regular job, doing my side jobs. Needless to say, I've been pretty busy, and editing is the thing that takes me the longest. I'm not very good at editing. I can design a website all day long, but editing a video is just not in my wheelhouse, as you can tell from the quality of these videos. So it just takes a little bit more time to put something out there. But I am working on a video on how I plan my homeschool week. And I think, so I did a screen recording of it. And I think what I'm gonna do is just take the sound off of that video and then just do a voiceover explaining what's happening in the video. That's what I think I'm gonna do. Because I don't really know how else to do that. Maybe I can just show you on the table and just point to what I'm doing. I don't know, I'm figuring that out still. And then, yeah, have a few more ideas. I do want to do, I did start putting together my Bookshark curriculum stuff, and I will, as the year comes to an end for this year and we get closer to next year, I'll do some like Bookshark organization stuff. I might totally change up how we do school next year because we have more to do. So there should be more homeschool content coming soon. If you're a single mom and you enjoy these videos, or if you're any mom, any person and you enjoy these videos, please give them a thumbs up. It really helps support the channel. And then also subscribe, because you probably need a subscription in order to know when I post something, since it's not that frequently at the moment. But I'd love to have you along for this journey. We can learn and grow together. I've already had a bunch of wonderful moms reach out in the comments and just talk about what they're going through as well. And I feel like there's a real need for middle school homeschool friends and support and conversation. So we can be that, guys, if you want. We don't have to, but it seems like a cool opportunity to me. My daughter is almost 12. She's already a woman, and it is an adventure. She's a great kid. She's amazing, but it's still a bit of a challenge. But I'm so proud of her, and I'm so excited for this next school year. I love homeschooling her. So until next time, I will see you guys later.